the youngest member of parliament when he was elected in 2004. Sachin Pilot, a graduate from Wharton Business School, decided to get into politics because his father, Rajesh Pilot, a popular Congress leader from Rajasthan, also joined politics with Rajiv Gandhi. Sachin Pilot, now a two-term member of the Lok Sabha, is the Minister for Corporate Affairs, independent charge. He's grown in stature, but is the dynasty the reason why he's grown? Questions that we will ask him in this episode of The Real Politik. It's election time in Rajasthan, Sachin Pilot's home state, and the crowds of ticket seekers throng his residence. It's election time and Sachin Pilot is meeting supporters from his constituencies as well as far-flung villages from his state, because that's the difference between a member of parliament who comes from the Lok Sabha. He can never say no to somebody who's come from the constituency, and that is something that Sachin Pilot has picked up from his father, Rajesh Pilot. Never turn away anybody who's come from back home in Rajasthan. As Sachin spends time with the crowds at his residence, the stamp of his late father, Rajesh Pilot, is all over. In his office, waiting areas for his supporters, and we get ready to ask him questions about current politics and how it is to be part of a young brigade in the Congress. Sachin, you are the face of Gen Next within the Congress. You have been in the government for nearly 2 terms of the UPA government. You've risen from Minister of State to a Minister of State independent charge. You've got larger responsibilities. How difficult or how easy is it for the younger leadership within the Congress to really make that cut?
Well, first of all, we all started young, but we're not as young as we were 10 years ago. So I personally believe that the party has been extremely kind to someone like me, who's been given the opportunity to contest elections twice in the Lok Sabha, and then been given the chance to work in the government. I think it's a tremendous experience. And over the years, we've all tried to strengthen the party in any way that we can. And the idea is to have a balance between delivering the goods while being in government, at the same time rewarding the party for the position that it has given us.
Is there a constant comparison with Rahul Gandhi within the party in terms of performance?
You see, Rahul Gandhi ji is not only the vice president of the party, that's his official designation, but what he is for all of us is a unifying force. And he's a leader in the Congress party who is able to transcend all the other divisions of region and caste and language and the other fault lines. So he's someone who inspires us to be able to talk about our nation as one entity. And he's certainly one person who is the lead campaigner for the Congress party, not only in these elections, but also for the 2014 parliament elections.
Would it have been better if Rahul Gandhi had also done a stint in government? It would have given him experience vis-a-vis other leaders. For example, he is always pitted against Narendra Modi. Now, Narendra Modi is a 3-time chief minister. He has administrative experience. He has development records to show. In that sense, do you think Rahul Gandhi should have joined the government in UPA 2 at least, and it's a missed opportunity?
You see, the fact that the Prime Minister had asked many times for Mr. Gandhi to be a part of his government, and he has focused all his energy and all his time on strengthening the Congress party. Now, it's very easy for him to have said, yes, I'll be part of the government. I want to be in a part of a position of power. I want to enjoy the perks of power. But he's not someone, and so is Mrs. Gandhi. They've never run after posts and positions. If that was the intent, he could have become anything he wanted years ago. But the fact that he chose to work as a Congress person,
but is it too long-term a strategy for him? I mean, some congressmen already saying that it's frustrating to work with Rahul Gandhi because he's thinking too much of the long run and not looking at winning elections in the short term.
You think the Congress party has survived for 127 years without having a long-term strategy? It is the Congress party and its leadership which has looked ahead, thought ahead and planned ahead. And that is why we've been able to survive as a political entity for more than a century. So it's wrong to think that Mr. Gandhi thinks long term and he does. He is as aware and as keenly interested in fighting and winning every single election from municipality to parliament. And he understands the nuances of electoral politics and what it takes to win elections, the campaigning, the resources, the party workers, how the unity that must be forged. So he's not someone who's unaware of the ground realities. Yes, the priority should be to win the elections, but the Congress party must have a path, a strategy, a long-term planning in its place for us to be able to take on the next challenges of next 30, 40, 50 years. And I tell you, this concept of Mr. Gandhi against Mr. Modi, this has just become something that is a favorite of television channels, of newspapers, of discussion
But it's reality.
rooms. It is not a reality because in India there is no comparison like that. Mr. Modi is the Chief Minister of Gujarat. Mr. Rahul Gandhi is the Vice President of the Congress Party. We are electing the political party to rule the country, not individual leaders. And this has become more of a media discussion than the reality on the ground. And the BJP, by the way, is a party that in the whole of the country, there are about 10 states where the BJP has not a single MP or an MLA. Now, to think that Mr. Modi can go and make the BJP win, X number of seats in Kerala or in Arunachal Pradesh and things like that, I think is a bit far-fetched.
We decide to pin down Sachin for a more detailed discussion on current politics. Sachin, you are the Corporate Affairs Minister, and very recently we've had two international agencies, Goldman Sachs as well as Standard & Poor, virtually waiting for the next government to really make the economy of this country really look up. Is that a sense of a report card against your government, that your government has been a total failure, at least in UPA 2, on the economic side?
My God, those are very, very harsh words. I'm surprised you used them because, frankly, giving so much importance to one agency or the other and them deciding how the economy is shaped up, I think is a bit different from what the facts are. The fact is for the last
But you wouldn't
8 years,
like internal agencies or even opposition parties, which is why we're talking about the foreign agencies.
No,
at least they are unbiased towards a government led by the Congress.
That is because the expectations from the Indian economy, from this country, have been so high for the last 7 years that now they feel that we are perhaps not punching above our weight. But the facts are there before you. In the last 7-8 years, we've had a GDP growth rate of more than 7-8%. Every year. Last year and a half, we have slowed down because of various circumstances. Globally, the economic situation is not looking that positive. Despite those challenges, I think we've done quite a bit to curtail our current account deficit, to have some policy, fiscal and monetary interventions to stabilize the rupee.
This is not about current account deficits. It's about the confidence of a country which seems to be on a roll.
It cannot be
It's a country which is completely plummeted.
That is your opinion. I don't agree with it. I don't.
No,
think
that's not my opinion.
No,
that's the opinion of
it's
Goldman
not saying
Sachs
plummeted.
as well as Standard & Poor.
Every time there are elections in a country, everybody waits for major policy decisions. But I can tell you that this government is not going to stop and wait for elections to happen before we do something. We are going on with what we have to do. Elections always cause some uncertainty in terms of international people who are keen on seeing what the investment climate is. But India remains a bankable destination for investments, both domestic and foreign.
The domestic industry is completely disillusioned with the performance of the government, the decision-making process within the government. There are no foreign investments that are really knocking on your doors.
Numbers speak differently, Navika.
There are projects in the pipeline that have been in the pipeline.
In the last 6 months, the Cabinet Committee on Investment has approved projects worth billions of dollars which were stuck in the last mile, like you said. So whether it's environment, whether it's land acquisition, whether it's state government not coming on board. No, I think, there are a lot of circumstances that got built up.
The sense of doom and gloom has overtaken the economy.
I am not one of those persons who can very easily be turned into a pessimist. I'm very optimistic, very positive about the opportunities that India offers. We are a vibrant economy. We are a dynamic marketplace. People want to be a part of the Indian growth story. Both domestic and foreign investors still believe, and I think rightly so, that India will be the market.
But they're not doing business with the Congress party. They're waiting for the next government. And that's where it brings me back to the politics of the present day. The politics of the present day is that UPA 1 had a story to tell. UPA 2 is a stinking story of corruption, of scams, of decisions that could have been taken, were not taken, and therefore UPA 2 has disappointed many in this country and outside it.
Again, that is your opinion, and I think you're using exceptionally harsh words to describe what this government has done. There are n number of achievements that I can list out to you for the UPA 2, but the fact that the perception is what you think it is doesn't agree with what I think. I still believe that we have done tremendous amount of work, and don't forget the amount of allocations we've done in the last 3 or 4 years for social sector development, for all the schemes that the government's rolled out. We've made path-breaking legislation in this country, food security, land acquisition bill, right to information, the new Companies Act. All these are going to fundamentally change the landscape of the economic architecture of India, and that's going to help not today. Yes, it will, but for the next 5 or 10 years, we're laying down the foundations for a long-term growth story.
For 10 years, in 10 years, people
and we've delivered. And
People
we
should
delivered.
have seen a perceptible difference
you look at
in
the
their
numbers.
lives.
You look at the number of
You look at the numbers
roads,
of onion prices, you look at the numbers of tomato prices, you look at vegetable prices. That's what affects us. That's what affects the common man. Whether it's EMIs, whether it's interest rates, whether it's prices of...
Who's arguing with you on the fact that we need to curb inflation? I'm not one to say that we have nothing to worry about.
Admitting at least one front on which the UP has been a failure.
I am one person who's very candid about what the facts are. We have to fight with inflation, and especially food inflation, which hurts the common man the most. We're doing all that we can from the government of India, but we need more support from the state governments. If you look at last 9 years that you talked about, look at the numbers. Look at the amount of money we put in people's pocket, whether it's through Narega, whether it's through other employment generation schemes. Look at the amount of roads we built, look at the amount of airports we built, look at what the city was, look at Delhi, look at the airport, look at the metro, look at the development in a holistic view. If you start picking quarter to quarter, you can find faults. But largely speaking, the last 9 years have been one of growth. India's prominent position in the economic architecture in the world has been strengthened in the last 8 or 9 years. Yes, today our growth has slipped down by a few notches.
You were in the corporate affairs ministry.
You tell me one issue that has come up.
There are scams of the Ponzi type, the Sharda scam. There are scams in the spot exchange where investors' money is involved. Why is the government system not able to sense these things before they happen?
Okay,
Why do people have to lose money? Whether it's the 2G spectrum scam, the coal allocation scam, this government is a whole lot of scams. And that is where the people...
Now you allow me to respond. You made your point, Navika. First point is that any single issue that has been brought up, whether it's inside of parliament or outside of parliament, we as a government have never lived in denial. Every single issue that you talked about has been dealt with. The courts are persecuting people, the agencies are going after people, and a lot of issues that you talked about have individuals involved who are today in jail. It is because the Congress and the UP are not ones to defend the people who are involved in wrongdoing.
We can only take force back to action.
Look, if there is non-compliance, if someone has broken the law, we have not differentiated between Congress or BJP, X or Y or Z.
So if everything is so hunky-dory, if the UPA government has taken action, why are all opinion polls at this moment showing a complete downtrend? And the Congress's response to this is predictable. We don't discuss opinion polls. There was no problems in the last 9 years, but suddenly there's a huge problem with opinion polls. You want to ban them. You want to stop spokespersons from speaking about opinion polls. Why so defensive?
Okay, there are two things. I think off late there has been a certain perception created, and I think rightly so, that some of these opinion polls, I won't say all of them, but some of them are certainly being sponsored at some level. I'm not putting blame on X, Y, and Z. But it's true that some time ago, there was a discussion amongst political parties, and the BJP and Congress and other parties said that this should be not allowed to be done. Election time we must try and curb such opinion polls because it affects the voters negatively. Now today the BJP has done a U-turn because apparently the polls seem to suggest that the BJP has an edge. Now,
but the BJP says that it's a loser psychology on part of the Congress party to really go into a situation where you're demanding a ban on them.
I personally believe that if this stand was taken 6 months ago, you would not have had this point to attack us with. I think more than the pre-poll, more than the opinion poll, more than the television ratings, what really matters is on polling day, which button the voter presses. And I as a congressman and my party are focusing energies on winning those 4 states which are crucial to us, and I'm sure we'll be able to form the government despite the opinion polls that you have projected. I believe that this personality issue-based politics about calling people names, using language that is unbecoming of senior politicians is not a good thing for Indian politics.